It's Thursday, the 3rd of December 2020. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Today's headlines. Australia emerges from recession with the strongest pace of growth in 45 years. That's our main story. Plus, Britain greenlights a Pfizer BioNTech vaccine for COVID-19, with the first jabs expected within days. A third airline enters the Golden Triangle, and an old-fashioned bookseller gets ready to list on the ASX. Australia is officially out of recession, with the economy expanding by 3.3% during the September quarter, the fastest pace since 1976. Household spending led the way, growing by almost 8% during the quarter, a new record. Hotels, cafes and services benefited most, and so too did the government's coffers, with GST revenue up 5%. On the other side of the equation, net exports took almost 2 percentage points off growth, again a record. Imports surged, reflecting growing demand within the Australian economy, but these were offset by a slowing in exports as global demand for our goods weakened. Business investment fell, detracting from growth, while higher government spending contributed to the final outcome. All the states bounced back during the quarter, with the exception of Victoria, which was in lockdown. Significantly, the national savings rate fell. That's a good sign that people are more confident about the recovery and prepared to spend more. The big rise in growth came after a 6% fall during the June quarter and was larger than most economists had forecast. The economy is probably a year away from getting back to the point it was in February this year, though the employment market will take longer to recover. So, after 2 quarters of contraction, the Australian economy is officially out of recession, the first one it had in 30 years. The rebound was not as strong as many overseas economies, though neither was a dip as bad. The local share market is still 8% below its peak in February this year. The Aussie dollar is creeping higher, which will act as a handbrake on the economy. And the relationship with our biggest trading partner, China, is at a low. There are also still hundreds of thousands of people without a job. But all in all, we head into the Christmas New Year period in pretty good shape, all things considered. Overseas news first up. Britain last night approved the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine for use, becoming the first Western country to approve a drug to prevent COVID-19. The vaccine will be made available across the United Kingdom from next week, with 800,000 doses being made available immediately. US Attorney General William Barr said the Justice Department had not uncovered voting fraud on a scale big enough to affect last month's presidential election. Mr. Barr has been a very big supporter of President Donald Trump, and his comments effectively end any real prospect of Mr. Trump's ongoing legal battles being successful. And there's been a couple of big overseas deals announced. Airbnb has set the terms for its IPO later this month and given itself a valuation of $35 billion US. US food delivery platform DoorDash will float soon after with a valuation of $32 billion US, and Salesforce said it will buy Slack for $28 billion US. What's it all mean? There's still plenty of momentum in the tech sector. Locally, New South Wales has eased some coronavirus restrictions after recording 25 straight days without a community transmission. There were no cases in Australia yesterday. The Federal Health Department official who oversees the Therapeutic Goods Administration said Australia has 3 vaccines scheduled for approval in late January and early February, with the rollout expected next year. The United States has weighed in on the clash between Beijing and Canberra over a tweet depicting an Australian soldier slashing an Afghan child's throat. The US said China's use of a digitally manipulated image was a new low. Labor leader Anthony Albanese has increased his criticism of the Prime Minister, saying he was causing unnecessary offence with China. The Australian Securities and Investments Commission is investigating misconduct at AMP after a financial planner blew the whistle on alleged breaches of its financial services licence and widespread compliance audit failures. One of the Morrison government's strategies to help farmers who desperately needed workers to pick fruit was to provide assistance payments of up to $6,000 for Australians to temporarily move into the regions. According to The Australian, less than 150 job seekers have accessed the payments, well below the target number of 26,000. Regional Express, otherwise known as Rex, will increase its fleet to 5 Boeing 737 planes and launch into Brisbane. It means a third player behind Qantas, Jetstar and Virgin will fly the Golden Triangle route of Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And online book retailer Booktopia is slated to list on the ASX today. While all the world seemed to be shifting to Kindles and reading electronic books, Booktopia kept selling hard copies and kept growing. It's expected to be worth about $300 million when it lists. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. There's more on all of these stories in today's full Fear and Greed podcast, as well as an interview with Mary Aldred, CEO of the Franchise Council of Australia, about how franchising works in this country. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.